Hello, tabletop wargamers, and welcome to Tried and True, a podcast hosted by the Delaware War Machine community. Join us as we dive deep into topics around our favorite games, exploring methods and techniques proven to enhance anyone's gaming experience. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 10th episode of Tried and True. I am your host, Paul.
And I'm Dan.
Dan, how does it feel that it's an episode with just you and me again? It's like we're getting back to our origin.
I feel like this is one of those buddy cop reunion action movies where like the two main characters can team up and knock some heads or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's cool though. I love it. I love the fact that we have all the different dynamics, the different hosts that we have here. Andy just with his little, like zingy one-liners and Erica's enthusiasm. Like, I love it. But yeah, we're keeping up with our whole thing on our interviews. We kind of doing it with like a couple of different guests in here. So we are on the second episode of our deep dive into Privateer Press series, and we're going to be continuing along with that. So just real fast, if you haven't done so already, please take a moment and make sure that you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. You can find us on More Than Dice. Shout out to Gonzo for helping us out with that. And if you really like what we do, support us on Patreon. Your support goes a long way. You get access to art, access to early releases of all of our battle reports and stuff. And Dan, there's some really fun, exciting news with how many subscribers on YouTube, right? You want to share some
That's right.
Sneak peek?
Yes, of course. So we started this when we were around 350 followers. We're up to 390 right now, which is great. We want to hit 500. So with that remaining 150 to cover, we decided we were going to give away $150. So we're going to have some full contest rules in the future, but we're looking to give away some store credit to Frozen Forge, which is a company which makes some really high quality measuring tools and widgets for the game of War Machine. So please keep an eye out for that in our future episodes, and we will provide you with full contest details as soon as they are ready.
We're really excited by this. I mean, if you take a look on the battle reports, if you see any games that Andy and I are in, we use Frozen Forge widgets. I even have the token set for Retribution. They're great stuff. And I mean, $10, I mean, you might even just be able to get like a small token set just with that on its own. So yeah, high quality stuff. So we're really excited by this. So just stay tuned. We're probably going to go and have that details in our show notes for either the podcast or probably the podcast and the battle reports on YouTube. So just keep an eye out for that. But with that, let's go ahead and get started with this next interview. So if you heard, we have the Playtest and Organized Play Manager with us, Loren Lower. Loren, go ahead and take a moment to say hello and to tell about what you do at Privateer Press.
Hey everyone, like Paul said, my name is Loren. I manage a lot of the playtesting we do for all of our content we have coming down the pipeline, as well as coming up with and testing all of the organized play stuff we have coming down the line. I haven't put out my first Steamroller document yet, but hopefully that will be coming for you about the end of the year. And that's the quick lowdown of what I do.
Loren, can you actually kind of your avatar? Who is this lady with like the red hair and the glasses? I mean, like it's a sign of me getting old when I don't know anime characters anymore. So like,
I chose a picture of them too that's really obscure, so I don't like. Don't worry about it. It's Futaba from Persona 5.
Okay.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
my
it's
wife's
just
going to start playing that game soon. She's been itching to play it for a while. So
it's great. I cannot wait to get Royal on the PC when it comes out later this year. I'm super excited.
Man, I wish Andy was on this episode because he loves Persona. He I don't remember if it was like 4 or 5, but I remember like seeing it like off when he was playing it with the with his PlayStation. But I'll say this, for the Persona games, I think the only one I played was 2. The soundtracks in those games, like chef's kiss.
They've only gotten better with every game. Yeah, when I was the community manager before this position, I chose Futaba because I just thought it would be funny to be like, oh, the person watching you on the internet is the hacker character from Persona. It just
that's a good one. Nice. I know I really love Joker's theme song in Smash Brothers. That's nice and jazzy tune. I love it. So
yeah, it's great.
I can agree with the music.
And then you also mentioned, you said community manager. Can you just kind of talk a little bit about your career at Privateer Press? Like, how'd you get started and how'd you get to where you are now?
Well, a little over 6 years ago at this point, I started actually in shipping. I moved very quickly from shipping into physical engineering of the actual models. So it's a step before the models go into production, right?
Sure.
The 3D models have to get printed, and the prints have to be prepared so that they can be then copied for molds and mass produced. I then went into that lasted like a couple months before I actually took over the sales department.
Okay.
I've done a lot of different things in the company. And then after the last community manager left, they needed someone to take over the role, and I just was already on all of the social media anyway in the background. So I took over that for community manager. And then there was an opportunity for me to move into design and development, and I had already been helping them for years at that point internally, playtesting stuff. So it was a natural fit.
Gotcha. And then, like, did you find, like, with all the different positions that you've had there, like, your skills from one department were able to be used in another? Because I think about my own career, it's like they move you into positions you're not normal with, but you find that your skills do translate well over. Maybe it's just like one or two, whether it's like organization or scheduling or just being able to know how to use Excel or something like that.
Oh yeah, just like particularly now that I'm in design, understanding how the production end works, because they've not had until recently anyone in design who understood like the fine details of production enough to know that when they make something, this is going to cause problems in this way, or vice versa. And now we have the whole with me and Eric both having connections to production. Now that we moved into design, we have a strong connection to like how to produce these models most efficiently, both rules wise and physically. So that's been a huge help.
It's really cool.
And then how about just gaming in general? How'd you end up finding your way into gaming? Was it just some hobby that you picked up at an early age, or?
Oh yeah, I discovered my dad's old D&D stuff in a closet at 12, first edition, and me and my friends just could not stop putting D&D down, and we played the heck out of it. Third edition, second edition. We found Iron Kingdoms, and that's how I found War Machine, through the old Iron Kingdoms RPG. Not a lot of people know that we started as an RPG company before we were a war game company. So
yeah, I remember because like my sister, she was actually said this in the previous episode with Matt, was that she had like the original, I think 3.0 Witchfire. You know, yeah, and she was like, yep, it's right there on my bookshelf, and it's cool. She even got like the new the 5th edition stuff in there, so it's cool. It's really neat to be able to see like how Privateer Press has really like influenced so many people.
Yeah, it's crazy having come from like as a kid just finding D&D to getting to actually work on the actual production of D&D materials with Matt Getz, helping him with the playtest and the rules for our 5th edition supplements. It's been a blast. I've loved it.
Yeah, it's really cool because like talking with him about it, he says like, hey, there's like these meetings around the table, and it's like, hey, this is what I want to go do. Will this work for you? And it's amazing just how the company really does have to work with all these different departments and stuff. So it's cool. It's really cool. I like it.
So it's some kind of well-oiled war machine, you might say.
I saw what you did there.
No, I was gonna say it's also just like a real family atmosphere. We're all real chill and work together, and we're small company, literally mom and pop shop. We love working together and coming up with ideas, and a lot of mutual respect from all departments to each other. So.
And then you also mentioned that you were the community manager, and I've seen you on Discord servers. I've seen you like participate. What do you think is like the best way that you've seen players to connect with each other, and how have you seen it change? And I guess your overall like thoughts on that.
Oh man, that becomes a wide question. So my favorite way for people to connect is just over their own creativity and passion for the game. And that might sound like, oh, of course, but like it was not just the tournaments that got me into the game when I first found my first War Machine community. It was the painting groups, it was the train building groups, and I've seen so much creativity helped keep the community together through COVID in the last 2 years. Just the point a day challenge, the Facebook group where everyone posts all their painting. Like, it's been amazing to see everyone connect about that, and then finding different ways to play the game as we come back into the game stores. I think that's just my favorite way to see people connect that way.
It's amazing you say that, because when Seth was talking with us, he said that there was like the War Machine was like the three-legged stool. It was the rules, the community, and the hobby. Mm-hmm. And like that community is huge, and I think that is probably one of the strongest things that I've seen, at least like within like all War Machine players. At least when I go to any location, everyone's just super friendly, chill. They love to have a good time, and it's great.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. And then get super intense in a tournament scene. You have both ends of the
Absolutely.
I always really like seeing those paint jobs that look like they're off the page of a comic book, or the
Oh,
bright
yeah.
colors and the black lines. Those
Oh
are-
yeah, that one guy on Facebook was doing all the cell shading stuff. I don't remember
Yeah.
who that is, but that's like one of my favorite styles I've seen.
those
anywhere.
minis look like a trip, and I'm like fighting myself to not strip everything I own and restart.
It's harder than it looks too. I tried doing it once by myself, and I was just so embarrassed by the results. I'm like, oh, I'll leave it to him. I don't think I can do this.
I'm scared myself. I'm an amateur painter at best, so.
So we were ended up saying about the tournament scene and people being very intense, and I guess that's going to get into the part about your career right now on organized play and play testing. Organized play, like, how would you summarize it to anybody? Like, how is it different from like us just going off to like a Tuesday shop?
Yeah, that term gets thrown around a lot, and since this is your episode, I was hoping that we could help our listeners define that. What is organized play?
Organized play, it has many different origins. From the community itself has versions of organized play, but when a company says they offer organized play, like Privateer Press, it's a structure by which everyone can find the rules and come together to play the game and also get rewarded for it. There's prize support, unique sculpts sometimes, badges, patches, coins, to reward the players for coming together and just having a great time.
That's great. I know that I appreciate all the prize support that our store gets. So it sounds like this is just giving a framework for players to enjoy the game, but also rewarding them for engaging with the way you would like to see them play.
Yeah, and we even offer prize support in a basic way. Like, I've had people come to me and be like, hey, I want to run Food Machine, because that's completely like a community-driven aspect. It's a great charity. And they're like, can we have some prize support? And absolutely, I will make prize support up for you to make sure I support that event.
We can attest. We ran our Food Machine back in February, and you guys came through really well for us. So,
oh, well,
I'm
glad. Yeah, it's such a great cause, too. I love how the community can come together, not just for fun, but also for a great cause.
Yeah.
But people do bring some really crazy jank with that, though. I'm going to go ahead and say, sorcerer with an arc node. I was like, that's not right. I don't like that.
I know. I'm a bad person. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. So my next question is that we'd actually heard something that was on another podcast. Matt Wilson had mentioned that Privateer Press does not want to discourage the community from running their own events, such as Food Machine or other things like that.
Yeah.
So we've just discussed how we're gonna find that prize support for you guys. If you build it, they will come, right?
Right.
So we've been seeing more and more local communities take up the reins and start running their own events, which we're really, really happy about. But for people that might be listening to this podcast or some other content and they've never heard of this before, or they've never been to an organized play event, how do you think that they can best jump into this part of War Machine, or this part of what Privateer Press has to offer?
Well, I mean, the first basic step is on our website under Organized Play, we have broken down all of our various formats. That's a great starting point because it's a little intimidating for someone who's never run an event before to make up their own rules. Some people are way into that. Some people want more structure. It's however you want to tackle it. From there, we offer the prize support itself on our store, or you can contact front desk at Privateer Press if you want something particular, or like a charity like Food Machine. That's how you guys reached out to me, I think. And we'll get you guys squared away with exactly what kind of fits your event.
It's great. Tailor-made. I love it.
Tailor-made, yeah.
And then, Loren, because of with how much stuff has happened within the game, so I like fluff. I should probably do more research, but I do like it. I always love it. A lot of characters in the Iron Kingdoms have died, whether it was pre-Infernal Invasion or during the Infernal Invasion. And I have a conversation, and like Andy's playing Severius. I'm like, he's dead. You can't play him. Like, what's wrong with you? But has there ever been like talk about maybe like a different ages of this game, like or getting like some kind of laundry list of like saying like, hey, if you're in pre-Infernals, like this is like who's still around, and these are the major beats that happen. So that way, if maybe like somebody wanted to run the story of I don't know, Kalissa shooting Zal, and then he ends up becoming, the Zal 2 immortal version of him. Like, is there like a resource or some way that people can go and do something like that?
No, we don't exactly have a research. This was actually news to me. I had a bunch of questions all in last month from a bunch of different community people, like, hey, what's your like dead caster list, or like, do you guys do that thing that 40k does where you kill off casters and they can't use them anymore? And I actually am one of the few people in the world who don't play 40k, so this was completely news to me. But no, we don't have a list like that. We are considering like a format for like the oldest models and newest models. But we're not exactly 100% sold on that. It's things we've looked at for organized play, but ultimately, if you want to run a theme that's right for you, or something thematic, like, we don't want to limit play that way ever, I think, is a big goal for us. So
Gotcha. No, and the question wasn't supposed to be like designed like that. It was just more so along the lines of, there's a laundry list of people that have died, and I even think, like, I see like on like the Facebook messages, it's just like, who's dead, and I just see like the whole thing, Mr. Clog, and just like the list of like everybody. I'm just like,
yeah,
ugh.
some people might have been having trouble working the old Twitter machine. So they were looking for do we know the body count after the Infernal invasion? Like, who's still here?
You're looking for like literally a list of fatalities,
like officially confirmed Warcaster fatalities or something.
No, I think we should, though. That sounds like a great resource. I'm sorry, I kind of misunderstood the question there.
No, it's okay. It was like a bit of a two-parter with that, because again, like, for people like doing like organized stuff, it's just like, do you want to do something that's like based off of an iconic, and this could be something that a community could like go and design themselves, in that case, if they want to go host something that's not a steamroller or something that you've already produced, if someone wants to take on that mantle. But no, that laundry list, that's just because
I should get together with Getz and we should come up with a fatality report.
That would be awesome.
Just have a full list of who's left. Is it better at this point for who's left, or
I don't know. Any extra day I have to fight in the warfare of Iron Kingdoms, like, there's mustard gas everywhere. I'm out. I think I'd rather have my goose get cooked in the Infernal
I believe
invasion.
it's strangle gas in Iron Kingdoms.
That's right, yeah.
Dan, do you want to go hit your steamroller question now?
Yeah, of course. So, on the subject of steamrollers, we've heard that you guys are prepping for a new change to the steamroller document. I think you mentioned it earlier, and it's congratulations, by the way, if this is going to be your first ever steamroller document, that's right. And that was supposed to be around November of this year. That would be 2022.
Yep.
As per, we're looking at the steamroller document, they usually run for 1.5 to 2 years, typically.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the community members that we've got at home here in Delaware and Pennsylvania were wondering if we're going to see any major shakeups in the kinds of scenarios that we're looking to expect in the next steamroller document.
And will Hills come back?
Yeah. You know what? It's funny, that came up in a conversation not too long ago. We asked ourselves, should we bring Hills back? Is that a troll move? Is that? But no. Yes, there are some big changes coming. So big, in fact, we might even have some previews for you in October before it actually drops, just so the community can get ready and get a taste for this before it goes into effect. We definitely want to give places like Las Vegas Open, for example, enough time to prepare for stuff like this. So I'm really excited to share it with you.
2 follow-up questions. I'll give you a layup here. One, Paul has been doing a lot of work on some very scenic terrain features.
Okay. I love making dollhouse furniture so much.
Oh, yes.
Can we get a hint? Are we going to see any brand new terrain types available? So
brand new terrain types is something we want to bring in. I think you will see that more probably in the next steamroller document. We didn't want to throw too much at once, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
So it will be a little bit before you see something brand spanking new, I think.
Okay. So Paul, you can put away your dollhouse furniture for now.
No, I want to play with them. I want to go fight in the forest.
Second follow-up question. If we're going to run a Warfare Weekend qualifier in December, which is maybe less than a month, early December, maybe less than a month after the steamroller document's set to change, what can we and perhaps other organized play groups do to prepare for the release of an upcoming Steamroller document in general?
It's like for us, because like when we do the stuff, I love making the dollhouse stuff. Our tables are like beautiful looking now, and I just want to make sure that we do a Warfare Weekend qualifier, we have the new stuff.
Sure.
Like that, you know what I mean? Like just so that I can.
Well, I
try to
mean,
make
we
it, so.
are going to have, like I said, the previews should be out October-ish. So you have a whole extra month before it goes live. My brain's skipping. It's either the 1st of November or end of November. So you'll have the new Steamroller for your guys' event in December. And just keeping your community informed. A lot of people will have events but then not even post that there was a change, so that when the list building comes, they're like, oh, I was expecting things to work this way or that way. And communication is always key, and even we need to work on our communication sometimes and make sure we blast our message as much as possible when things change. It's something I want to be on top of this year. So
Well, I'll say this, Dan. That means that I can't put away my box cutter and my popsicle stick, so I guess I'm still building stuff.
I will say though, like, even if you're running an official Steamroller, even if it's an Iron Gauntlet qualifier, if a TO wants to include special terrain, that's the TO's prerogative, I feel. If you want to introduce any of that stuff off the hook, don't be afraid to make things a little weird now and then. I encourage that kind of creativity. I love that
You hear
kind of
that,
creativity.
TOs out there? You get let's see your weirdest, craziest terrain features.
I'm gonna make some hills.
Paul, you stop it with your hills.
All right, and then I love elevation. It's pretty. All right, Loren, I think this was our last organized play question, because I'm assuming you do. We primarily do War Machine and Hordes here, right? But I know Privateer Press does a lot more products. You do organized play for all the different IPs that are there. How do you balance that? Like, if you're doing the organized play for War Machine, for Warcaster, Neo Mechanica, for Monpoc, like, how do you allocate your time, your resources to make sure that it's I guess it's done on time?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's you have project management in any other company. It sounds boring, but it's just project management, really. I have several teams of contractors who are all playtesting for me, managing who's on what project at any one time, managing what developer is actually actively creating the stuff. For instance, for Monpoc stuff, I work real tightly with Emmanuel. He's helped us out a lot with that kind of stuff. And then just there has to be an equal balance for everything, and you'll see this a lot more in the coming years as new updates come out for everything. Now that COVID's over, COVID really gave it the feeling of a dry spell, but we didn't want anyone to feel like they were missing out when they couldn't play, and we didn't want to encourage anyone to be unsafe. So now we are going to be full bore producing so much cool content for you guys over this next year.
That's actually really cool. Like, I'll say this, just because like I work in education, that's really responsible for like one thing, and I really commend that. And I think like I don't even know if like people have even heard that side of it. So that's great. Like, that's awesome. I love it.
We want our community to be safe because we care about you guys. Like
Amen. Yeah, it's really nice to be able to hear, that it is our community that helps motivate you and the other developers. So thank you.
Yeah.
From everyone down in Delaware and Pennsylvania here, we appreciate that.
Yeah, I hope some days we can connect and meet up at Warfare Weekend as it comes up. I hope to meet you guys and we can get a game in. I want to get that Delaware community experience.
Everybody like
that would be pretty. That would be pretty cool.
Loren, I have a newborn. Like, she's 3 months old. I can't. I can't go to Indianapolis.
It's okay, Paul. I'll jump on that grenade for you.
Oh, I'll happily jump on that grenade.
So, speaking of playing things, I think that's going to bring us to the next topic. So I was interested in asking you a few questions about playtesting.
Absolutely. I
took a class in video game design in college, and I remember almost nothing about it. No, I'm just kidding. But I really do like digging down into some nitty-gritty details about how games work and how they're designed. So on that note, I'd love to pick your brain on how you evaluate the balance of the different intellectual properties at Privateer Press.
Sure. I think the biggest challenge with that kind of thing is that every game has a different balance, and balancing that in your head can be a big challenge, first of all. But games like War Machine, much more number centric, having to crunch the numbers to make sure that they 1 point of defense, 1 point of armor makes a big difference in War Machine. And watching those curves when you break it out numerically against different factions who have different attack values, we have those numbers. We consider that. And then putting it into playtest gives another stark example in that numbers mean one thing to the people who understand, like, just if you're looking at raw numbers, it makes sense this way. But when someone actually puts it on the table and plays with it, it has a completely different feel sometimes. Like, even if we know numerically this is good, it doesn't always feel that way when it hits the table. Because there's so many things that you can't account for in numbers, like line of sight or forests. Where is this all on the board together? So you have to look at it through as many perspectives as possible. Numbers, your own, the communities.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. I love graphs and stuff, so I'd probably kill to see those bell curves. You know,
I'm a marketing major, and that translates real well even into into game design. It's all those delicious statistics.
Yeah, I agree. Now, follow up, you say you do a lot of playtesting, but I'm curious to know if you examine real world or community results and performance, things like how someone is playing this miniature at a tournament. How did it perform at a tournament? What games were it played against? That sort of thing. Is that part of your, like, maybe even post balance analysis, sort of?
Oh yeah. I mean, you can go as far back and like the starkest examples of that are when you can see when we clearly made a mistake. We're not infallible. I'm not going to claim that we are, but like you can look back at things like Una the Falconer, Una 2 basically, was changed almost immediately after the first tournament because her first set of rules were completely unbalanced, and we realized it after it shipped because something clicked in our minds and we went, oh, all right. And then all of a sudden, we saw it in a tournament and it became even starker. Just like straight, all right, we have to correct this. We have to fix this. But usually we find that the tournament results kind of match what we see. Yeah.
That's really interesting.
So, but I mean, like, does that mean like you did your job well and like, okay, we're good. Let's drive forward for the next one.
Yeah. Sometimes it's part of game balancing is purposely unbalancing some stuff, like because it's not just numbers. It's you want to drive the meta and you want the meta to grow and evolve and shift to new threats because that creates interest. That's interesting, and building lists is interesting for new problems. So occasionally, you poke something a little far in one direction and it creates a problem on purpose, and we want to see that, and then we want to create this. Then we want people to come up with solutions to that. And we love watching the community evolve that way.
Yeah, that's really great. I mean, this all is in keeping with the scientific method. You set a hypothesis, you test it, and then you observe the results. And in those cases, it sounds like you can watch a tournament play out and say, no, this is exactly what we were hoping when we designed this miniature. Yeah. So that's really cool to see that play out in real time, I think.
Even in that, I think my proudest moments watching the community is when there is a problem and then an unexpected solution gets created for it. Like sometimes we predict what's going to fix it, right? We're like, oh, they're going to take these models now to deal with this problem. And then the community goes in another direction that we didn't even consider. And we're like, beautiful, wonderful. I love seeing that.
I remember my own custom built solution to Una when Mark III was first coming out. And I started building in a Harkovich list with as many Kodiaks and Devastators as possible to get auto hit non-melee attack damage rolls out there.
Yeah.
And I agree. That was some of the most fun I've had in War Machine was, trying to puzzle out my own solution that I could hold in my back pocket. So I think this stuff is really cool.
I had a really jank Nemo list myself that the auto hitting lightning was the only way I could get around it. But no, that was still a little too much problematic. But yeah, sure. It's fixed now.
Thank God.
So then, because you're talking about all this play testing, how about all this new stuff that Privateer Press is, teasing with us, right? The Orgoth, the new Signar stuff, and Kador's getting a tank. Like, how do you get the research, the information on the model performance? Is that done like internally or externally or a mix of both? And like, how many people do you have like working on this project at once?
We have the company internally works on it, both the designers create it, the designers play test it. We present it internally to some people who continue to play test it, and then we also then when we feel like it's starting to brew in the right direction, then we share it with our external contractors that we have. It people from the community, people not even in the community. We have a full breadth of understandings of the game we try and get because we want to see what new players think of things. We want to see what veterans, tournament players play, and casual players. I have a whole group, groups to match all needs, and they get games in. They report to us. I compile the info and share that with the rest of the designers. So I think the biggest challenge with this project, though, has been usually we have produced one or two. Like you've seen previous release waves where there's one or two things here or there. I think this is the largest amount of new stuff I've ever seen us internally produce at one time.
I just want to say, because I remember it was the not the keynote or whatever that insider thing was, like, last year, whatever. It was just like Orgoth is coming, and I just thought it was only Orgoth. But then when I started seeing all these new like Signar drops, and you had like the art of like the new Signar versus the Orgoth, it's like, whoa, there is a lot of stuff, and the amount of models that are being made for Signar, like, ugh, like I can, and you even teased Kador.
Yeah, I think today we announced that there were 3 total new casters for Storm Legion alone.
I have not seen that before. I think back to I like made a post on it. It's like reminds me of like League of Legends season 2, where they had a new champion like every other week, and it just like you just can't keep up because there's so much new stuff and everyone's doing something new. And
I'm not gonna lie, this is just the tip of the iceberg too.
Oh my gosh.
And I think you'll be hearing more this month even. So
I had a feeling, and I'm really excited about what's coming.
It's coming. It's coming.
I'm really excited to go hear what else is under that iceberg. I'm a Retribution player, so I'm really holding out for my Iusans. I'm so hoping for something. Oh no, we'll see.
Oh, you're gonna be excited.
Yes.
Hold on to your seat, Paul. We got more playtesting questions coming up.
I have to buy models. I already have a baby. Like I don't.
I'm sorry, you had to feed the baby first. I
don't think you could feed the baby miniatures, Paul.
I don't want to be responsible for what happens next.
Yep. So next up on the playtesting questions is we've talked about how Privateer Press is really good about that scientific method and the process of iterating. And everyone knows failure is the best teacher. So when a mistake gets made, you course correct and you come back at it again. You solve the problem a different way. So I'm curious to know what your cycles or iterations look like or entail for one cycle through or one pass through a playtesting process or a development process.
So usually, in my experience, we come with an idea or a set of models or both that we're testing. In that, then we have between probably it's close to 2 to 3 months where we sit down with our playtesters. There's more time before that, of course, where we're talking internally, but like the actual what we call a playtest cycles with the contractors. Mm-hmm. And we sit down and we get like a week and a half where they absorb the new rules, play some games, report to us. We take a week and a half with the stuff, and we just bounce back and forth like that. You may get 3 iterations, we may get 6 iterations. It's a little fluid based on our needs and how many changes need to get made. Usually after the second or third pass, we pretty much have the final version. It's just little tweaks after that.
That's cool. Do you find that in your first pass, you're most commonly changing like stats? And then on number 2, you're most commonly changing like the power of a weapon or what an attack does or something. Like, do you find that there are many overarching themes to how you kind of organically work through this process, or is it drastically different miniature to miniature?
I think first we there's lots of dials you can turn, like you said. First, we tend to reach for point values because that's the thing that changes the theme of the caster. But there was I'm going to be non-specific, but with a previewed Kadoran caster, there was a ability that just proved too strong, and no amount of points fixing was going to affect this. But we managed to find a way to compromise keeping the theme in there. And sometimes that's what you have to do, is just knock the power of the ability down, and that doesn't always feel good on paper. But then we played it, and it was still incredibly powerful, and we're like, all right, it's not guaranteed to work every time, but man, does it still feel like what we wanted it to have happen. Um,
Can can you go into detail and but like a non like new model that's coming out, like maybe like one that you've worked on in the past that you're just like, this is like one of the hardest models to get right. And what I go back to is I just think back to like Falsier, because of her bounty mechanic. It was just so new, and like how do you do that right? And it was like, I think the original like iteration of her, it was like a spell that would like put out the bounty tokens and stuff. And she originally used to have the prey as a bounty token. Like, who have you found like a model in the past to just be like, this is like slamming a head against a brick wall?
Man, that's a good question. So I think the ones that was hardest, and you're gonna have to take my word as a little bit of grain of salt because I wasn't quite as involved as I am now with
Sure,
it.
sure,
But
sure.
the Infernal Masters in particular, if people saw the original rules, I think their eyes would bleed. Uh,
That's on brand for them.
it was like looking at an Eldritch horror, and because there was we wanted the ability to bring in new horrors into the game. That was core to the concept of what we wanted to do, and balancing it in a way that wasn't just like, all right, now this turn I bring in 5 heavies, deal with it, was very difficult to balance.
Oh my god, that was the thing.
I think one playtest game I brought 3 heavies in because it wasn't like originally limited to like solos.
The once a turn.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is
My mind's a little foggy
ridiculous.
on this. Don't
Jeez.
quote me on any of that. But it was
I was about to say, like, you'd have to be a whale to play an army like
Yeah.
that. Jesus.
I'm
I
sure
mean-
there's a million things in those playtest documents that are never going to see the light of day.
yeah, and for good reason.
And they shouldn't.
The first idea is very rarely the best idea.
It's just what you want in your heart of hearts. That's all.
yes.
So, Paul and I are very familiar with War Machine, but less so with the other IPs that you guys have and the crunchy bits of those systems. So, I was wondering, does your playtesting cycle or iteration look different for War Machine versus Monpok versus Warcaster and Neo Mechanica?
I think they're actually surprisingly similar in the structure of the project management. Like, it's just, does this rule work? Yes, no. I mean, it's an oversimplification, but
Right.
I feel like you do get less physical games when you test War Machine because they take longer than a game of Riot Quest, which is like 30 minutes for 4 people. You get a lot of info
Mhm.
from one game of Riot Quest. And when you're testing for War Machine, you're testing for like razor sharp rules balance, right? But when you're testing for Riot Quest, it's more about, is everyone having fun? Is this a fun rule? Is it an easy rule to understand? So there's different approaches to how we take apart the information, but the actual structure of the day-to-day is pretty similar when you kind of zoom out, I would say.
Yeah, that's actually really cool. I was kind of expecting them to have different methodology because like you said at the start of the interview, that the balance is different. But
Right, yeah.
to,
I mean, well,
to
'cause
hear that they're in line is really fascinating.
Yeah. It's always good to have a well-balanced game. What can I say?
I'm with you. So Lauren, we were wondering, when we're talking about different ways that the community can engage in organized play, and I remember from several years back when I was first starting back in Mark II, Privateer Press used to schedule these narrative events that would run occasionally throughout the year. And I remember putting together like the Fell 13 from Kador, which was just a bunch of snipers and Doom Reavers, and they would do secret missions and things. And I thought that was always really cool. Do you guys have anything in the works that could bring these narrative events or some other kind of new format to the table for players?
Yeah, well, first thing I want to talk about the Oblivion campaign, which was our next step of narrative campaign that's kind of inherited that role of the quarterly narrative play. We released that book, and then we released the supplement during COVID for free. And one of the things we noticed with narrative play is that people seem to enjoy it most in like, what's the best way to word this? I don't want to say basement games because that has connotations, but like you go to your
No, I know what you mean. You're talking about like it's a small group. It's like a small group. It's like,
yeah, like you and your couple other buddies meet in your garage and play games. And I think that's really inspired us for the direction we want to take narrative campaign stuff going forward. Is we want you guys to be able to tell the story you want on a smaller scale. You don't need 6 people to show up to an event or 12 people to show up to an event to have fun. It should be a way to bring a narrative fun to the game with just you and one other buddy even, and how that evolves over a couple games you play over the next couple months. And that's something we're looking at. I don't think we have anything to show yet, but that's definitely the direction we're thinking about. Does that make sense? Like that's where we want to take it next, where I want to take it next.
No, it's good. There was one document I remember a while ago, and I don't remember where I saw it, but it was like a hex adventure almost, where it's like you had a base, and then you moved your guys to different hexes, and then if I think your army met with someone else's army, because no one can see, you had like one person be the game master, you'd go and fight, and I thought that was such a cool concept. Like I would love to see that again.
I don't know. You guys sound like gamers. Do you ever any of you guys play Dynasty Warriors?
Oh my god, Lubu!
Ah! I loved the Dynasty Warriors that were like Risk, where you're whenever you are trying to take an area, you'd actually enter a game and play. That was great. That's just what you reminded me of when you mentioned.
That's exactly what I think of too.
It was the original Star Wars Battlefront 2 when it was like the Galactic Conquest. I played the out of that. Oh my god, it was so much fun.
Yeah, I don't know what it's going to exactly look like yet, but it's something that's been how to bring that to a small group of people so they can tell the stories they want is definitely something I want to focus on.
That's awesome.
And then I guess the final question we're going to go ahead and say, because we're talking about play testing and, we were talking about organized play and balance, right? So when you're looking at these major conventions, these Warfare Weekend qualifiers or the Warfare Weekend Invitational, the Iron Gauntlet, are there like outliers that you look out for, or there's submissions you say is like, why is this a thing? And I just go back to Mad Dog spam. I'm like, oh no, this is not good. Did you see that on the paper and you're like, this, I guess, is it foreboding or is it exciting? Like, when you see this document of like what's going to be coming to this big convention, how do you take that?
I mean, we want everyone to have fun. Are you asking like, is it scary to see an unbalance, or because?
I guess is it scary to see something that you aren't expecting to see?
Oh, I mean, no, because like part of the job is to change and flow have the meta move around, right? It's a living, breathing thing. So when we see new stuff, it's exciting because we want to know where it goes. We are keeping an eye on it because occasionally, like, there are problems. Like Mad Dogs eventually got addressed because there wasn't enough tools available in every faction to make it even, right? And it was causing some disparity. But usually we see that we get excited because we can't wait to see what comes next from the community, right? Like
when someone at a convention submits their list and it's this wacky off the wall list and you look at it and you're like, what does this do? And then it starts winning.
I think that there was that Merc list. I was looking at the Merc list and going, what are they doing here? What was it? I want to say it's like Fiona or something like that. But there was one where I was looking at the list going, what are they doing here? And then finding the really off-the-wall rules interaction they found to mess with things. We ended up changing the wording on that spell I know she had.
Oh, this is the befuddle. Okay, gotcha.
Befuddle.
Is it the befuddle and the Tauros with the countercharge or something?
Yep.
Is that it?
Yep.
Gotcha.
Okay. It needed to be fixed. Absolutely, it was not good. But I was so proud that it got found at the same time. Like, does that make sense? Like,
yeah, it's like watching your baby grow up and start walking.
I'm like,
oh, you figured it out! Congratulations.
I'm the sadistic kind of player that was sad when I couldn't shoot my own Storm Smiths with lightning bolts anymore because I liked the weird interactions. I understand why they're not good for the game, but yeah, I like finding them.
Maybe in Garage Machine. Maybe with
Garage
the narrative
Machine.
Event. Put it back in for the narratives.
Yeah.
But I have to say though, with the playtesting that you do, and I've heard about the horror stories that were Mark 1 and like saw a couple of battle reports of Mark 2, but really like I started playing in Mark 3 only, and from what I've heard in the horror stories, the game's only gotten better. So I see the amount of work that you go into playtesting. Like I'm always excited for what's coming out. The Orgoth, the Signar. I know that you're not just throwing stuff at us and be like, here, have fun. Like you're getting quality products for us, and it's just something we should be celebrating.
It means a lot to hear that from you guys. Thank you very much.
I agree, and I echo Paul's sentiment. I've been playing the game since about 2010, 2011, and since that time, I can't think of any other year in War Machine where I've looked at a tournament spread and gone, how do I get better than a 50-50? But the fact that I'm at a 50-50 with most of my Kador matchups makes me say, man, this system is working, and it is working real well. So as far as I'm concerned, you guys are doing a bang-up job over there, and I can't wait to see what you come up with next.
I'm excited to show you guys.
It's like, what would they say? It was like 20 years. You guys have been doing it for over 20 years.
Yeah,
it shows. It's just
I
awesome.
wouldn't be where I'm at without the awesome people who mentored me and taught me inside the company. So shout out to everyone who's come before me. You guys really helped me come to understand game mechanics, and I'm stoked to be here.
It's awesome. Well,
all right. Well, I think with that, that's going to go and wrap up this interview. Loren, we want to just thank you again for stopping by on Tried and True. We little tiny podcast, just enthusiasts about the game. Like, we're just really thankful that we got to be able to chat with you and just provide so much awesome insight on organized play and play testing. And it's just been a bang up job.
Yeah.
Like, it's been
a
a great time.
Thank you so
here.
much for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. I can't wait for you guys to hit 500 subscribers. Good luck.
Me too. You gotta submit an entry. Get you some Frozen Forge tokens.
Did you have any closing remarks that maybe the listeners might be excited for? Or they can go ahead.
Well, currently we have our latest 5e supplement for the Iron Kingdoms. Guys, check us out on Kickstarter. It has been a fantastic project to work with, and who does not want more necro sharks in their D&D campaign eating their players? So
I can tell you, players do want it. That's all
Yes.
they can talk about
Yes.
at the store is the necro shark.
I'm so excited for somebody to do like an Aquaman like style character for like Nightmare
Just
Empires or something. I don't know. It's just,
Thought his name was
it's just talking
Icos.
to the sharks or something. All right, now I'm just being dumb. It's fine. Dan, do you have any more remarks?
No. Like, follow, subscribe, guys. We love this community. We love the content, and we want to hear your success stories. We want to hear your not so successful stories, and please keep spreading the love, spreading the game, and have fun and good luck with your dice rolls.
Yeah, everybody, keep up with the positive vibe. Again, it's never been a better time to play War Machine, and it's been great. Thank you for tuning in on this episode of Tried and True. On the next one, we're going to be continuing our series of interviewing a couple more employees over at Privateer Press and see what they're working on. So from all of us here in Delaware, thank you for listening, and we'll catch you later. See ya.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.